Welcome. This is the Pineapple Perspective with your host, truly, Troy Hooper. This is always sponsored by Pepper Lunch Restaurants. And if you're a multi unit franchisee looking for simple operations, high net returns, and a really cool in-store experience, this gentleman, our guest today, is a fan and a regular at our Irvine Spectrum location. Now that we opened one outside of his office, please check us out at pepperlunchrestaurants.com. Today, I'm really excited to have a fantastic guest, a gentleman who founded a company that I've been very familiar and been a customer of and brought to a lot of restaurants over my career, and they've just continued to evolve and grow. But this guy is a wonderful human being. I've spent time with him in and outside of the business realm, and just really, really special person. Tony Smith from Restaurant365, co-founder and CEO. Welcome to the Pineapple Perspective.
Oh, thank you, Troy. I'm so excited to be here with you. When I saw the invitation to join and I saw the name Troy, like definitely whatever he's doing, I'll be a part of it. And especially when you're affiliated with Pepper Lunch. I love that food, and it's right down the street now, so it got me really excited. You may not know this, but when people come to town, like, my family, and they ask me, like, where's a unique place you could take us? Something you think I haven't had before. Pepper Lunch is my answer 100% of the time.
Awesome. We're grateful. I know I tell people this all the time. You don't know this. I tell this story all the time. It's a simple little thing, but I don't know if we were even like 3 days open or a week open at the Irvine Spectrum store, but I went back down for just kind of to go down and have meetings and check on the store and do all the things that you do. And it was definitely just, immediately after grand opening the store, which we had amazing grand opening at that store. And I'm walking in at like 11:05 a.m. And Tony Smith is sitting there with, I think, a new employee or a recent, and he's sitting there with a new employee having sort of that welcome CEO welcome lunch. And he's sitting out on the edge of our patio. And the first person I see when I walk up to Pepper Lunch is Tony Smith, CEO of Restaurant365, sitting there with one of his employees. And he looks up, he's like, "Hey, Troy, just enjoying some lunch." I tell people that all the time. I think it's awesome.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, you don't think I was stalking your opening date with binoculars out my window? Yeah. No,
well, it is a unique perspective. Your offices look right down over, virtually attached to the plaza we're in, so makes it convenient. Look, I see a lot of your team in there, right? I see a lot of the badges and the shirts coming through there, so we're grateful
That's
for that.
good. We try to brand our folks pretty well, so when Restaurant365 comes to town.
All right, here's the promise. Next time I come to Irvine Spectrum, which I go pretty regularly, once every 10 or 14 days or so, I'm going to come in. I'm going to bring you a big stack of these, not just for you, but we're going to hand them out to the whole staff. Want to make sure that we thank everybody, our friends and partners and vendors support team at R365 there at the Irvine Spectrum office.
So that's awesome.
We'll bring those to you.
Great. Thank you.
Tony, before we get into anything else, we start every show off with the same question. We ask every guest to give us their perspective on the same question. That question, sir, is what does hospitality mean to you?
I think hospitality for me is providing service so that people feel like they're at home when they're not.
I love that you said the definition of it in your own way. That is really cool. I like that. That's a really cool just twist on the perspective. All right, but where'd you come up with that? How did you learn that? I mean, you're a software guy. You're a very techie information systems kind of guy. But where do you learn where hospitality means? How's that seed been born inside of you?
Yeah, that one's developed over years. So there are a couple little chunks. My earliest exposure to restaurants that I can remember is when I was 5 years old, and we would go to this Mexican restaurant, single location in our town. And my parents were like religious about it. We were there about every 2 weeks, and they knew me, and they would celebrate. I was this little 5-year-old, and they would celebrate me every time I came in, and they'd bring me special little things. And I just loved that. And it built an affinity with that place. So later on down the road, when we started to build software for restaurants, and I was thinking back to like, what are restaurants really trying to accomplish? And I think they're trying to accomplish exactly that experience that I had.
Time and opportunity to connect and authentically and recognize, recognition and tracking. And that's
yeah. And the food was good. I mean, if their food was gross, it probably wouldn't have mattered if they clapped for me while I ate it. But the fact that it was great product and great service was just a great combination.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's all about recognition. I grew up in the day of Cheers, and my dad built restaurants, bars, and nightclubs, and always had the favorite, bar or restaurant to go to for a happy hour, take the employees after work or whatever. And just the fact of him being that regular where they knew his name and the regulars know your name, and just recognition, just acknowledgement. And look, even if you recognize, but you don't even know them, but you treat them like you know them, that's what it's all about, right? That's hospitality, is treating people like they're in your home. So appreciate that. Great answer. Tony, I doubt there's very many people in our industry that don't know what Restaurant 365 is, but can you give us that high level 90-second introduction of what is it? How did you come to be a co-founder and create it? And what problems does it solve for us in the industry?
So Restaurant365 provides restaurant back office management software. So it is a SaaS solution that's out there that restaurants can use, and it generally will help you manage accounting, inventory, labor, and really keep a handle on controlling the costs of each of those things to drive more visibility and efficiency. And how did we come about? Back in 2011, me and Morgan and John, who are the three co-founders, we had some software skills to create a solution like this, a financial and operational tool that's built into one. And when we saw the needs that the restaurant industry had, and that they weren't really being met from that side of the house, there was so much focus on the front of the house, right? There's a lot of focus on some of those things, on point of sale and payments processing. There wasn't a lot on the back in SaaS solutions, and especially a connected one. And so that was the hole that we saw that we thought we could really fill. Sometimes I'm asked, maybe I'm speaking at a university or something about entrepreneurship, and people often ask me, how can I start my own business? And I generally tell them it's about product market fit. And for me, product market fit means solving a problem someone has in a unique way. And then I just add this one piece is, so try to go solve a problem that you think sounds terrible, like that you wouldn't want to do, and then do that one, because most people feel the same way as you. So anyways, we saw that with restaurants in the difficulty that they had, and really wanted to help them because we love restaurants. And so, I mean, that's the number one core value on the wall right out here that I'm pointing to that you can't see: love good food. And it really means we love the food and our customers, those that bring it to us. And so for us, we were so excited to get this solution to market that could do this in a unique way and really try to help them be a healthier restaurant from a financial perspective.
What year did you found it again? Sorry, you said it at the beginning.
Started in 2011 building it, and the first version of it really took, probably about 3 years to build what would be the first version.
Yeah, I think I found R365, and kudos to your sales team. They found me. I remember getting an ask for a sales call and initial demo conversation, and it was a high-level person in the sales department. It was like one of your directors or something, and that would have been 2016, 2015,
Okay.
2016. So
Okay,
pretty early on.
That's pretty early days for some of the modules we have now. Wouldn't have even existed then. So
Yeah. I even remember, it's weird, I don't know why this is. I write everything in, my notes are in like a journal. I have a bunch of these books and I just go through them, right? And I remember being on that. I know where I was when I was on the call. I was on the patio of my townhouse, and I remember jotting down the Venn diagram of, okay, you do this and you do that, and you connect here, and you have a couple of ancillary solutions that you were plugging in at the time. And then it turns out I had my business at the time managed golf clubs and private city clubs. And one of your large initial white label, one of your large accounting firm, Mr. Knapp from Woodland Hills, California, one of your, I guess, early adopter / accounting firms that used your product because they basically only serviced accounting services for restaurants, like chain restaurants. They did like Carl's Jr. and some pretty big chains. And I remember talking to him about it, and he being like, wink, wink, we use them. We just don't tell you we use them. But that's our back end solution that we're using. And so anyway, it's kind of my origin story that I know I got to get involved and learn about, and start to be an evangelist of Restaurant 365 from pretty early on in
wow,
your
that's
in
pretty
your
awesome. I
evolution.
mean, that's
So,
9 years ago. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
in software is like 1927, 46 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Like for cars, that would be like the
You've been
Model
around a
T
long
Ford
time for
version of our car. Yeah.
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 You've been around a long time for somebody in the restaurant tech industry. Well, good stuff. Now we've set the table a little bit about who, what, where, and when. Let's talk about this industry. That's the core of this show, is to have a conversation with thought leaders and people in the know, and people like you that just get the great ability to see across so many spectrums of types of restaurants, sizes of restaurant groups, volumes, price points, etc. Let's talk a little bit about what you're seeing, just in general. Give us that economist. You're at the university. Somebody raise their hand and go, "What's the health of the restaurant industry? What are you seeing, and what's standing out?"
We have a pretty large number of restaurants on the system, and so we are able to run some numbers and see in a broad general in the United States what is going on with the industry. And I generally try to take a look at that quarterly. And so some of these numbers will now be a little bit old because this is from my Q1 review of the industry. But one of the things we saw there was on average, the industry as a whole down about 2.5% on sales versus the same quarter a year earlier, right? And that was the first time we had seen that basically since the COVID time. And so that was interesting. It was kind of a big deal. And we break it out by quick serve versus fast casual versus full service or fine dining. So, and it was different across some of those segments, but as a whole, that was the average. And so plugging into that now, I haven't looked at the final numbers for Q2, but it has seemed that there has anecdotally, the ones that I've looked at have seen some improvement there actually. And so that's a good thing to hear right now as of today, that I'm hopeful when we look at Q2's end numbers, it will show that it's not down year over year, but we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, 2023 was a funky year anyway, right? We had this huge sort of bubble coming out of COVID at the end of 22 into early 23. But by mid to late 23, people were freaking out. There was a big slide. And really, it was just everybody's comparing your sales and your performance against kind of an artificial bubble. There was that sort of inflationary spend that happened, and that pent up demand that really poured out. And I think people made a mistake of trying to measure themselves against those sort of all time numbers, right? And now it's like, oh, things are terrible and da da da. But no, actually, we're sort of level setting, I would say.
Yeah, getting to business as usual. You're right. And I mean, it was great to see last year being the first year that we cross over that trillion sales mark in the United States for the restaurant industry. And so it has been exciting to see the industry move forward, even though it never looks like this. The restaurant industry is kind of like this as it rides the roller coaster, but generally up. And so we're hopeful that by the end of this year, we see that that has been able to recover and continue.
What are some top challenges current day? We'll talk about current day and what you guys have been solving for, or what people have been really expressing they need help with. And then we'll think about the future later in the conversation. But what are some top challenges or obstacles or things that people are looking to you, or even just more broadly as you hear what people are trying to solve for, and maybe not even be R365 as the point of solution for that problem, but what are you hearing out there as you talk to other people in the industry are kind of the top two or three things that are on our minds and people feel like they're struggling with?
Yeah, I could break this in a lot of ways. So let me take it one way first. And then if you want some other information, we can look at it a different way. The way I go first is we survey our customers twice a year. And so we get a lot of data around what's on their mind. And one of the key questions we ask is, what is your largest concern right now? And then they usually settle the concerns around some major category. So it's not something really
Right.
detailed like, this customer found a hair in their food. We're talking, big deal items. And what has been true the last 3 surveys that we've done is that the top concern had been labor related. And so the 2 types of labor concerns people surface the most are either the labor cost, it's just costing too much, right? Or they're surfacing that it's hard to find and retain the talent that delivers the right experience to the guest. And so those have been kind of back and forth, the top 2 answers for a while for us. After that, you'll see a sales concern. And then after that, you'll see a food cost concern. So those have been the most common. And so that then we try to laser focus in on like, okay, if that's what's going on, how can we, or us linking with other people, solve this for restaurants the most? And so yeah, that's where we've been putting our brain power lately is more on the labor and workforce management side.
And how are you doing that? Talk about your role in that
Yeah.
ecosystem. Yeah.
We acquired over the last 12 months or so an employee training product so that people can onboard employees quicker. We think that there's 2 problems solved with that, because if you look at the numbers, it could cost a restaurant up to about $5,000 per employee that they have to replace. And if you have 100% turnover in the year, then that is a legitimate amount of money that you're trying to make up
Yeah, it's
for, right?
huge.
When you're
I mean,
talking about maybe you get a couple
you got
million
30
dollars in sales.
employees, and if you have
Yeah,
100% turnover,
right? When you do
150
that,
grand in a year potentially. Yeah.
yeah, all of a sudden you're talking about what could be a cost to you of 15% of your total sales just because of the turnover. And so, yeah, with the training, the thoughts we have are twofold. Number one, if you can train employees well and they're more confident and comfortable in their job, they would be likely to stay longer than if they come in and just hate what's going on there. Number two, if you're better at training them, then even if you do turn people over, you're training them and getting them up to speed, let's say in half the time. And so that's a real value. So that's one of the things we're doing. We're also building out our own payroll product right now. We continue to mature that product, which will be tightly linked to the rest of the system. And so that's going to help people with a seamless scheduling to, work management to payroll, and should make some of that more efficient as well. It should also help them to pinpoint more around avoiding overtime payments, things when people are saying labor gets too expensive, right? It's like, let's try to have the best forecast possible so that we can sales forecast, so we can schedule the right amount of employees. And then from there, let's manage to that tightly to make sure we're actually doing what we said we were going to do.
How do you get that word out? How do the customers know that you have these very products? I'll give you an example. If you say R365 to a lot of people in the industry, they go, "Oh, I've got a accounting system." Okay. Well, guess what? I don't mandate R365 as pepper lunch to my franchisees for accounting. That's an option if they need it. Great. If they've got something, I don't need but it's the ops system that really is, you might have started in accounting, but it's that marriage of accounting and ops, that this multi-tiered approach like you've talked about. But how do you get the word out about these new products? I mean, you're developing some of these things, they're not ready yet, but you acquired something. What's sort of the core plan here with R365 as a platform?
Yeah, that's a great comment that you had because we started with accounting, right? And so as you try to get the word out initially, you build this reputation. And then from there, we fast followed with inventory management. And then from there, followed with workforce. But people get one view in their head, right, of who you are. And it does kind of define you. And so that's something that we have worked, especially on the marketing side. We built up a marketing team, we have marketing budget, and we really try to meet customers everywhere that they are. I love the trade shows. I love that we have booths and get out there. I love that we do things online. We it seems like a rite of passage for each new marketing leader is to bring out a new website. That's just like something that has to happen, I guess, if you're a marketing leader. So we have revamped the website a few times. But yeah, it is an interesting journey that's kind of never ending. And so one of the things we do is do this market awareness survey, and then we have a company go out and assess how well do people know us, and when they think of us, what do they associate with us. And you're right that accounting is the number one thing that people associate, but we really do a lot more. And if you actually, I'll tell you this, if you actually look at the dollars of our revenue, and I guess by telling you, I'm telling everyone because this is being recorded. If you look at our revenue dollars, there's actually more revenue dollars coming to us from ops than there is from accounting at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I look at you as an ops, back of the
Yeah.
house ops, and in data intelligence system too, right? I'm actually looking at you to aggregate and surface and make sense of a variety of data from all the points of input, right? That allows us to have a holistic view of our business and understand what's actually happening in the stores, and then aggregate some of that where it makes sense. So it all just comes about, I guess, how you look at it, or how you've come into the system.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear you think about that side because we have 130 point of sale integrations that we've built that we pull data from every day so that we can bring a lot of that data together. That's one of the things we've really come to believe on restaurants. There's really two things around software. Number one, they want restaurant specific software because restaurants are a unique business and they need software that's speaking their language and that's solving the problems they have, which is very different than a bike shop or something, right? And so it is unique. The number two thing we really believe is that they want one data point, like a data management. And so we try to pull data from everywhere we can, plus all the data we have from our systems and bring that together so people can have full visibility.
What are you doing? One thing I wasn't planning on asking you this. This came up in my mind as we've been talking. You have access to a lot of this data. I know you're doing these surveys. I know you go out on your restaurant transformation tour. You do fantastic presentations. You're speaking. Your teams are out there speaking. But talk a little bit about how you are a citizen of the industry. Talk a little bit about how you can educate us, how you can aggregate these learnings and lessons. We all look to the technomics and black boxes of the world,
Yeah.
and you got to go to a conference and sit down or pay for the if you don't, you got to go sit down and pay for this giant research, packet. But talk a little bit about how you view your role at R365 in that sort of marriage.
Yeah. So we do love the things you mentioned. Like we love to rub elbows with people and be there in person and share data. And we have some great events for that. I am proud of our team for what they put on, but that can only get so far. And so we actually have been investing recently in having better holistic data that we could serve up insights on, both to our customers as well as a number of things just out to the industry as a whole. So I've actually been chatting with both our data management and our marketing teams lately on how that marriage is going to come together so that we can serve up more just industry-wide data intelligence, things that people can know about it, even if they aren't a paying customer, right? Just put
Yeah.
some things out there for the industry. In fact, of the three co-founders I mentioned, one of them, his name's Morgan Harris. Morgan, but he is our chief community officer is the title that we have created. It's new. And the reason we've done that is because we really do feel like this restaurant industry is our community. These are our people. And so that community consists of customers, partners, restaurateurs in general. And so he's spending a lot of his time thinking about how we can touch the community better. And some of that is in actual, charitable giving and those kind of things. Some of it is in education. We even now partner with universities that have hospitality programs so that we can help them on a learning track and teach them more about the industry. But yeah, just so you know, so we're thinking about that in all kinds of ways so we can continue to be like a good citizen in this restaurant community.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I love seeing comparative data and watching for trends and seeing sort of where the market's going. And it doesn't matter to me what McDonald's is doing, although that's the litmus test for a lot of things macroeconomically. I'm really looking at my tunnel and then your tunnel and then your basket and say, okay, well, if that's what's happening over there, like I definitely keep my thumb and eyes on what's happening in full service casual, right? So people trade down to fast casual, and as our price points come closer, we start to share a lot more customers. And then all of a sudden, McDonald's has an $18 Happy Meal or whatever, like combo
Yeah.
meal. And all of a sudden, the McDonald's people start jumping over to fast casual, more upscale and more experiential or a little bit higher quality food because the price point now, I don't pay $18 for that. I may as well pay $24 for this. So I like to keep my eye on all that. So it's kind of interesting. It's like I don't even know what to ask you for. It's like I kind of want my section of the industry, and then I want, well, how's Asian doing, and then how are we doing against QSR? How's that? So there's a lot out there. I know, and I know there's a lot of asks, but
And we really think about the different ways you can slice and dice it. There are so many, like you said, but one of those is geographically, right? What about the Midwest folks versus the East Coast? And you could do some of that. One of them is by concept, like you said, we're talking Asian versus burger versus this. One of it is more about the quick serve versus fast casual versus full service. And then another one could be how big the restaurant group is. We
yeah.
have 3 locations, we have 25 locations, find some blocks in there that they can compare themselves to. I think having some of those is going to help people to be able to choose the slicing that helps them.
Yeah, I think, I come from a long history in the emerging brand space. And I think just to put it in your ear and we'll move on, but is, some focus on that 5 to 25 unit emerging concept, right? And they tend to be very regionalized for sure, tend to grow concentrically or in bubbles. But I'm always fascinated when I go to, especially the smaller conferences, and that's where they tend to be because it's a less
Yeah.
less cost, less time, less whatever. And I just fascinated when I sit next to somebody. Oh well, you're a restaurateur, great. Well, how many locations do you have? Oh yeah, I have 75 locations. Like what? How do I not? I feel like if you have 75 locations, we should all know who you are.
You're
But
like, I should know
there's so
you.
many
Yeah.
brands out there that have 100 plus locations that they're in 2 states or 3 states, and they're all connected, and if you don't live in the Midwest, you don't know them. It's pretty
Yeah, sometimes
fascinating.
I call them the regional independents because it
Yeah,
really is that. You find them in one region, and if you don't visit Nebraska, you don't know what a runza is,
right? I
until you
don't.
go.
You're correct.
Yeah.
All right, let's start to bring this thing home a little bit. Tell me, as you guys get out there, and I know you have the collective knowledge of your whole team, but I know you get out there a lot. What's exciting outside of R365? What's exciting? What are people asking for? What are people buying? And what's on the horizon for the restaurant industry? Because man, restaurant tech has been really slow to evolve, and then we went through what I think is this last 5 year explosive phase. And now there's all this talk about consolidation, acquisitions. Are we moving away from 19 SaaS products to more of a consolidated platform operating system type environment again in the future? What are your thoughts? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What's exciting in the tech industry?
Boy, there has been a lot going on. One thing that's exciting to me because I'm in a restaurant tech company owner is that the finance industry believes in the restaurant industry more than they have in the past, and they believe in restaurant tech as a good investment avenue. And that's exciting because I think with more dollars believing in it, then better products can come. And so I think that the future is super bright for restaurants because of the technology they're going to be able to harness. And restaurant, like when we came into being, there was so little investment in restaurant tech compared to where it is now that we had to claw to like convince these people of why people would just say like, why would you even get involved in that industry? Things like that.
Yeah,
And it's so different now. People believe in it. And so that's one of the things that exciting is that the money is there. Number two, you talked about consolidation. Let's touch on that for a second. It's pretty awesome that there have been some great players that have grown up and that have gotten to a point where they can bring another group within their umbrella, integrate it seamlessly, and really create an even better experience, right? Because it's one thing to be integrated externally, and then it's another thing when it's the same dev team, right?
yeah,
And so I do think that there's been some interesting consolidation and that we will continue to see that again because of the money question that I answered first. So I think that the consolidation will continue. I don't think we'll end up with a ton of point solutions. You see, for example, you see a time like the pandemic where a ton of online ordering systems were created. And then for a little while, they blast out. And now you've seen them kind of coming back to consolidation. And so I don't think the one thing I could see some blasting of is lots of people trying their luck with AI, right?
yeah,
Like,
of
how
course.
could we use AI? What could we do with AI? And lots of people starting to. But I think that a lot of the companies that are actually already serving the industry are going to be the ones, the incumbents are actually, I think, best positioned to use AI because I think a lot of the value that comes from AI is the data that it can utilize, right, to make decisions. And so these bigger companies that have a lot of restaurants and a lot of data are going to have a better AI use case than say someone who's an upstart and doesn't really have any of the information that they would need for their system to truly be smart. But I am interested in it. I'm very intrigued by the AI side. Our team spends time on it for sure. I know other bigger players that spend time, but there are a lot of little ones that are just doing like, hey, could I just manage a drive-through right with AI? Could I just do this? And so that will be intriguing to see over time. But I think what will end up happening there, I don't think it will end up with a bunch of big AI players. I
Right.
think a lot of the major players would either develop their own or buy some of these that are successful and keep bringing them into, I think, more consolidated solutions.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, just in recent days, I've seen some very young companies develop some very niche tools in this space. And then I don't know what the technical deal points were on the acquisition, but seeing some really early merger acquisition absorption, bring them on our team, sort of now we have that feature set, right? Because I
Yeah.
think a lot of these companies that are companies today are trying to raise or trying to grow and trying to get customer. Once they get some traction, they may actually be a feature within a bigger platform like an R365 or a point of sale toast
Yeah.
or whoever. So I think we're starting to see a little bit more of that. So all I want, Tony, is I want to be able to open my R365 dashboard and I want to be able to ask my AI agent all the questions about our pepper lunch sales and tickets, and are people adding more garlic or mushrooms to their plates? I want the AI to I just want to talk to it all day. Tony,
Yeah.
please get it done. We need AI agents at R365.
Do you know that I just had an hour-long lunch today with our primary AI developer, and we were talking through how some of this is gonna become reality here. It really is.
And it's just becoming much easier, right? The
It
development
is.
of such things is becoming a bit easier.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because you don't just have the AI agent that exists, let's say from OpenAI, ChatGPT or something, because it's where we were early stage. Now you've had enough time that these major organizations like Snowflake and Microsoft and so Databricks, or a lot of these bigger groups have had time to build those AI agents into their products. And so when you're people like us who use those large hosting and database type products, now we're able to utilize AI functionality they have instead of everyone having to start from scratch and build it all, right? And so we're really at a unique point in the AI software industry where I do think it's poised to flourish over the next 24 months.
Tony, I want you touched on this earlier, and it's a unique perspective, and I haven't heard many executives of especially companies your size say it out loud. You're very proud to talk about your recent philanthropic efforts, and I'm really happy. Toast just made a huge announcement: $5 million or $1 million a year over the next 5 years to No Kid Hungry. You guys are partnered with Core. Talk a little bit about that corporate citizenship and how you view your role and your company's assets as an important partner in that.
Yeah, we really have taken to the organization core, children of restaurant employees. And it's basically there are a lot of restaurant employees who are on that verge of making ends meet and not, right? And so it's a demographic that can sometimes need some extra help to really help their children get things like the care, the sustenance, and the education they need. And so that organization helps with it really well. And so that lined up with what we want to make happen. And so we have done a lot of partnership with them in terms of donation, in terms of helping them market and get their name out there, including them in our events, matching people's donation. We have an interesting relationship right now where all of the dollars that we and our customers will donate into there go back to the children of our customers, employees, children. And so it's been a really meaningful relationship, just seeing some of those things actually get put to work and make a difference in real lives. And so that's one where we've loved it because it's part of this industry that's so near and dear to us.
Kudos to you and the team, and thank you for that citizenship. And I encourage more and more executives that if they have the opportunity and they can find a way to build that into their business model. I think it just makes sense, and I think it's part of our responsibility. So, thanks, Tony, for doing that. Tony, let's wrap this up. The last act of this show is always your opportunity to pitch the audience about R365. What's exciting about R365 today you want to share? How do people find out more about it? What problem do you solve, and who do you solve it for?
Yeah, I mean, we exist to help restaurants thrive. I painted it on our floor right over there in the office, and we just want them to grow and to thrive. And so, because of that, we're really into building the solutions that we think produce that. And a huge part of that is running a healthy business. And so, we're committed to helping people run healthy businesses in so many ways. And people can learn more about it going to restaurant365.com. There's an opportunity for us to contact you. We'd love to hear from you. Even if you don't become a customer, we just enjoy when people become more part of our community.
That's awesome. Tony Smith, Restaurant 365, co-founder and CEO. Thank you for being on the Pineapple Perspective. Thanks for bringing your thought leadership and inspiring us in this audience today. Glad to have you. Look forward to seeing you out there on the road.
Awesome. I'm honored. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Pineapple Perspective. If you loved today's episode, leave a review and a 5-star rating. I look forward to welcoming you back next time.